Okay, good morning, my friends. It is Saturday, September 28th, 2024, and this is your Ukraine war news for today. It's the Daily Brief. Fighting is continuing to be hot, and you can see this in the statistics and the news. I'm just going to show you the statistics and just what's happened over the last few days. 1,470 Russians off the battlefield, 14 tanks, 42 armored fighting vehicles, 55 artillery systems. It didn't say anything about vehicles and fuel tanks. I don't know if that's an oversight or just what. But when we look at Andrew Perpetua's lists here, he put out this, here are the losses I could identify for yesterday and the day before. Okay, this is the day before, and it's about 3 to 1. And then this is yesterday, and it's about the same. I mean, it's like I said, it's been hot on the battlefield. And then he put this out and said, positive news is that the 25th and 26th, that's the dates of the September 25th and 26th, are done. Horrible news is I'm only starting today right now and I want to cry. He's got a tough job. He does great work. Here are the losses he could identify for yesterday, which is a little better than 1 to 1, maybe 1.5 to 1, not quite. So it's been pretty intense on the battlefield. Okay, meanwhile, Russians gave Ukraine no rest last night, pouring missiles and drones across the country, targeting hospitals and other infrastructure. Yes, hospitals. The amount of dead and wounded is being assessed with rescue efforts ongoing. Air Defense managed to shoot down 69 Shahed drones. Okay, so yeah, it's not been good. They keep pouring the Shaheds at them, but there's some good news about the Shahed drone program, and we'll get to that in a moment. If you've ever wondered about how many women serve in the Ukrainian military, about 68,000 women serve, 5,000 in combat zones. Women represent 8% of the 8,008, and the total figure as well, 880,000 armed forces. So it was only like a year ago that they finally figured out, women need women-sized clothes or different shaped clothes and started working that out for women. Before that, it was generally find a small man's uniform, and that wasn't really all that comfortable. Last night, Russia launched a missile strike on the Belarus district in the Odessa region, partly destroying a resort. A 600 square meter fire broke out, and two nearby cars were burned. The fire was quickly extinguished. Fortunately, no casualties were reported. There are now 113 victims in this morning's Russian bombing of a hospital in Sumy. This is according to the Kyiv Post. The Russians struck with one drone and then waited for local citizens and emergency workers to arrive in search of survivors, and then a double tap because they struck with five more Iranian Shahed drones. The massive massacre of Ukraine continues while the U.S. forbids the country from striking the sources of these attacks with Western weapons. So they continue to hit hospitals. And where's the rest of the world? Where's the outcry of that sort of thing? Unconfirmed information. Now, this is unconfirmed, but I see it everywhere. Like I see article after article after article about this. Unconfirmed information has appeared that Russian Colonel Alexei Kolomitsev has been killed in Russia, reportedly on September 27th. Kolomitsev was the head of the 924th Unmanned Aerial Vehicle Center of the Russian Defense Ministry. He was involved in the training of specialists in the use of UAVs, in particular operators and maintenance personnel of Shahed drones. Again, there's no official confirmation that's been made, and they're waiting for more information, but he's a bad guy, war criminal by any measure, and it's appropriate that he's no longer there. Okay, Darth Putin is the parody site. How many more hospitals must we accidentally bomb before you realize it's completely deliberate? It's a good question. Russo-Ukrainian war news. So this is just covering what happened day over day. Yesterday, Zelensky met with Biden, Harris, Trump, and the Trump meeting got all the headlines, and it was somewhat awkward. And Trump was making everything about whatever Trump wanted to talk about. And then Vuhledar faces encirclement, and we know this. We've been talking about this for the last few days. I think what's going on there is that this is a rear guard action in order to slow the advance toward Kursk and that is a significant thing because if the cross can hold through winter, it is in a very good place compared to what we thought was going to happen just a month or two ago. Ukrainians downed a Russian Starlink equipped Shahed, while another drone breached Romanian NATO airspace. No word from Romania. I mean, well, they're strong words, but nothing's actually going to happen. And the Starlink on the Shaheeds. Now that's a new thing that we just saw a couple of days ago, and I don't know how they're going to be able to deal with or remedy that problem. Okay, in other international news, embarrassing for Bulgaria. The prosecutor assigned to prosecute the poisoning by Russia's GRU of a Bulgarian arms manufacturer was found to be an active member of a pro-Putin, Stalin-adoring Facebook group. Okay, well, so that's the prosecutor. When his objectivity was challenged, the appellate prosecutors ruled it's constitutionally permitted to sympathize with certain historical figures. Okay, well, how about that? In other news, earlier this month, Italian cities saw a pro-Russian billboard campaign. Russia is not our enemy was written on billboards that also depicted Italy-Russian handshake. Now, on the other side of that, the Finnish president, Alexander Stubb, said if Russia launches a hybrid attack against us in Estonia, we would have to respond. So, both Polish and Romanian airspace has been violated by drones in the past. We'll see what they do. Belarus will immediately respond if it determines that Ukraine has deliberately used its drones on Belarusian territory, stated Belarusian foreign minister. It's his red line policy. Well, they should have responded when Russian drones violated their airspace, but no such luck. Okay. In May, when the UK defense minister said that China was supplying military aid to Russia, Jake Sullivan denied this. Sullivan was either spreading disinformation or the 17 U.S. intelligence agencies were not doing a good job. Anton Gerashenko, Western officials believe that they have clear evidence that Chinese companies are supplying Russia with deadly weapons for use in Ukraine, according to the Times. A new report points to a Chinese company sending a range of purpose-built military drones to Russia for testing, with the ultimate destination being Ukraine. The deal occurred last year. While the Chinese government might not admit it, they are going to struggle to keep their increasing support under wraps, added the official, appearing to accuse Beijing of being involved or aware of the delivery. Now, why are they downplaying these kind of things? And moreover, why aren't they allowing Ukraine to hit into Russia with U.S. applied missiles? Well, here's the answer. U.S. intelligence believes that Russia may respond with lethal attacks against the U.S. and coalition partners if they agree to allow Ukraine to use long-range missiles for strikes deep into Russian territory, according to the New York Times. Putin has effectively deterred the U.S. once again. I put this out on my a poll out on my posts on YouTube, and I asked, Putin's nuclear policy change is what? A lot of talk about nothing, an attempt to prevent Biden from allowing Ukraine to strike Russia, a serious change of policy that may lead to nuclear war, or a message to his people more than to the West, and by a wide margin, 61%. An attempt to prevent Biden from allowing Ukraine to strike Russia. I think that's very fair. By the way, I also had a record week for likes on videos, and I just want to say thank you. When you like a video, it helps YouTube algorithm know that this is good and it ought to be spread. So thank you very much for that. Okay, back to what the Russians are doing. This is why we keep getting less and less footage from the Russian army because they have a policy, no cell phones, and so when they find someone with a cell phone, they take it and nail it to a tree. Okay. 11 conscripts surrendered and saved their lives in Kursk. They hid in buildings waiting for the Ukrainian army to find them. That's a good strategy because if they came out or if they looked like they were retreating, Russian snipers might actually end their lives. Russian political prisoner for the first person convicted for protesting the war and someone who is dying in custody has now been offered to go to war in Ukraine instead of jail. Kafka is a lightweight compared to this. This is absolute sadism. The first person to get arrested for protesting the war. Yeah, if you want to get out of jail, you can go to war. Military supplies for Ukraine next year are under threat due to financial difficulties of some allies, while other countries are reluctant to increase funding. And other countries are saying, maybe we should be talking about peace. Your Russian conscripts captured by Ukraine, the Kursk region, subsequently freed in a prisoner exchange. Now they're being forced to sign military contracts. Remember, before they were conscripts, here they would be contract soldiers, but it's under duress that they're being forced to sign these, under the threat of beatings and prosecutions of themselves and their families, according to relatives. So that's how they're mobilizing, and that's all going to ramp up as of October 1st. Yesterday, I talked about Project Tatiana, Campaign 22, and how they're at now 119,907. So I'm going to put the link below. Somebody reminded me I didn't do that yesterday. I'll put the link below if you feel that moved to give to this campaign. We need to get this thing rolling. Yesterday, I was on UATV with Arthur Rehi, and if you want to see this interview, I'll put the link to that below as well. Finally, my friends, we'll end with Darth Putin. We bombed the hospital in Sumy. The tanky guide. First, it never happened. They're crisis actors. Second, there were Nazis, so they deserve what didn't happen. Third, NATO generals were meeting there. Fourth, what didn't happen to all the Nazis who deserved it? Crisis actors was a biolab. Now, do Gaza repeat? Okay. Thank you, my friends, for your time. Thank you for the likes. I really do appreciate that. Thank you for the shares and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.